This audio drama is brought to you by the Wiseman Company. Written and voiced by the author Kijana Wiseman, M.E.D. Copyright 2020. All rights reserved. www.kijana.com.
Chapter 7. Patience No More. There was a knock on my door. Oh, it was Mr. Studer. Very nice, he said when he saw my outfit. I thanked him kindly. Okay, so a call had come in for me to report to Peace Corps office after lunch. Regretfully, I changed back into my street clothes, ironed and hung that gorgeous dress, belt, and head tie in the closet. Left the Studer Hotel and caught a 60-cent taxi to Peace Corps HQ. I knew I was in trouble when the receptionist sent me straight to the infirmary. Our Liberian nurse was named appropriately Patience. Patience was always dressed in her crisp white nurse's uniform. She had her hair in cornrows that ended in a neat bun behind her head. She was perhaps 5'11" and reminded me a lot of my Aunt Rilla, big-bosomed with a no-nonsense attitude. So far, she's lived up to her name quite nicely. Every time I've been assigned to come and see her for the last of my in-country shots, she had plenty of people to see. And since I hate standing in line, I suggested a reschedule. She had smiled sweetly and said, "That's okay, darling. We can do it another time." This time, however, I was not so lucky. I tried. I really tried. Okay, I begged. But she was having none of it. As I watched her prepare the syringes, I attempted to make her understand that today was really not a good time to turn me into a human pincushion. The president's reception is tonight, Patience, tonight. Super important. I just picked up an amazing dress made just for me, Patience, with Diana Ross sleeves and everything. I really mean it this time. I can't do this today. Can I come back tomorrow? Tomorrow? Please? I'll come back first thing in the morning. I promise. Oh, no, Missy. She looked down as she set the third needle, a really big one, on the tray. That, my dear, is not an option. It finished today. You have made your last excuse. Time is up. She gave a soft, throaty laugh. If you had come back like all the others who promised, I could have finished you by now. But she sucked her teeth and turned to prepare a fourth needle. I go up country tomorrow, and these shots are all overdue. So when are you coming back? Can I see you when you return, huh? No, she puckered those rose-like lips. No more time. It's fini. Okay? Next week you leave Monrovia. Your group got to go to training camp in Kakata, and I won't be back for 2 weeks. That means no more time. Left arm first. She didn't pause for me to offer it, just grabbed, wiped me down with one smooth motion. 2 days is good time. She quickly popped the needle in and injected the contents. You be recovered by the weekend. Ouch! Recovered? I think that's what she said, but I wanted to make sure. Recovered? Recovered from what? These shots. She rubbed the puncture with an alcohol swab. That's the typhoid. Right arm is for cholera. She deftly stabbed my right shoulder with the second needle. I grimaced a bit but said nothing. That's good. She turned to mark my chart. Get down now. I slid off the exam table. Okay. I picked up my purse. Thanks, Patience. I started to creep for the door. Hey, yeah, tell me, cha. She didn't even look around. You can't see the last 2 needles on that tray? She didn't wait for an answer. One big, one small. They're calling your name, oh. Almost over, darling. Gamma globulin is that big one. It's looking for big muscle. Drop your pants and bend over. Left or right? She did not lie. It was a big shot. A very big shot. With big pain delivered really slowly. Oh. As she pulled it out, I let go of my bottom lip and began to breathe again. She picked up the tiny needle. I moved to bare the other cheek. Oh, no, my dear. She stopped my hand as it began to expose the other buttocks. I don't need that thing. Turn around. Raise your shirt. This is for rabies. It goes in your stomach. Take a breath and hold it. Funny thing, that last shot was delivered by the smallest syringe I had ever seen. But that little thing hurt more than the other three combined. Like liquid fire. The vaccine literally burned its way into my belly and spread like hot grits through my midsection. Yeah. Patients handed me a glass of water and a bunch of pills in a small white envelope. Take 2 of these now and again every 4 hours today or fini. She turned back to her paperwork as I limped towards the door. Both those arms gonna swell up, darling. So when you return to your hotel, wrap ice in a towel and put them on that. I saw a small smile grace her face as the door closed behind me. Oh, and enjoy your party, darling girl. Yeah, I just hope that fancy dress of yours got sleeves with plenty good room. Chapter 8. Drugs. Thank God I had just taken one of those pills patients had given me. Yeah, I know she told me to take 2 every 4 hours, but I know my body better than she does. I have a real sensitive metabolism. Everything hits me hard. I was already feeling drowsy as I entered the hotel lobby. I learned as a teen scientist to really listen to my body. And that's how I found out I can't take any caffeine. Yeah, I'm too hyper. Most sodas are too much of a real thing for me. Even a glass of sweet tea will start my heart beating fast, and I'll find myself staring at the ceiling all night long, wondering why I'm not asleep. Oh, and don't mention coffee. Oh, I make the sign of the cross and back away if anyone even offers me coffee. We're talking 3 heart-racing days with not a wink of sleep and a blinding migraine headache as the caffeine finally leaves my system. Boy, that stuff like it's cocaine. My body seems to be pretty efficient. I just try to feed it well, keep it clean, and not give it a bunch of junk. I found that things went smoothly through life if I would just listen when my body tells me it doesn't like something. So I'm saying all this to say that one thing it overreacts to are prescription drugs. Stuff that makes most people slightly drowsy tends to just knock me out. So I'm cautious. I usually start off taking only half of what a doctor prescribes. I stopped at the hotel kitchen and got some ice, and I stifled a yawn. That little rabies shot was stinging, and my arms were a little warm, but not overly uncomfortable. I opened the door to my room, and I yawned again. I was glad I had taken only 1 pill. I looked at the clock. 2 p.m. Okay. The party kicks off at 7, so I had plenty of time. Okay, I opened the balcony doors. I followed Patience's suggestion, set the alarm for 5 p.m., crawled in bed, wrapped both arms, and even topped my stomach off with towels wrapped around 3 bags of ice, closed my eyes for a little nap, and woke up to my alarm yelling at me. Oh, it was so pretty, and I really didn't want to move anyway just yet. So just close my eyes for a bit and listen to it until it died a natural death. I'll get up in a minute. Just 1 more minute. Someone started drumming near me. Nice beat. I opened my eyes. Light shadows danced on the walls. Rays from the setting sun creeped through my balcony door and up that wall. Yeah. Oh, that's when I saw the clock. It said it was after 7. Free yow! I need to get a move on. I rolled over, took the ice packs off my arms. I can't believe this. Okay, getting dressed was a real task. My arms felt so heavy. It was hard wrapping my head tie on as tight as I liked it, but I eventually managed to make the cloth do my bidding. You just gotta power through. I had trouble sitting and bending down to put on those heels I had set out, and walking in them made my right butt cheek hurt, so I decided to go with some cute slip-on sandals instead. Believe me, it still took all the strength I could muster to put my outfit together and drag myself out of that room. But I was determined to make this event no matter what. I looked at the packet of pills on the nightstand. It had been more than 4 hours. My arms were slightly warm and a little bit swollen. I thought maybe I should take one more to, tide me through the evening. I picked up the packet. No, I'd only taken one of those suckers, and see, I could just barely wake up just now. No, I needed to make a good impression at the gala. It's bad enough that I was going to be late. I sure didn't want to let my overreaction to drugs stop me from being as sharp as I needed to be. I put that packet back on the nightstand. As I walked through the lobby, I was greeted with looks of approval and thumbs up from Mr. Studer and a few of the other hotel guests. Yes, I thought as I smiled demurely back at them. Yes, this outfit is gorgeous, isn't it? By the time I closed the door to the taxi, my mind was tingling with excitement. But my body, sadly, was beginning already to tingle with entirely something else. Slowly, I began to realize that I was actually feeling millions of tiny nerve endings starting to wake up. Oh, thank God this driver had a Volvo and not the typical bumpy Toyota taxi. The ride was smoother, but it was still all I could manage not to whimper a little each time the car hit a bump. I was the only passenger in the front seat. Good. This allowed me to kind of sit on my left hip, slightly facing the driver. But even with that, believe you me, the pain in my shoulder and hip was working its way toward the small of my back. My right hand was on the oh Jesus grab handle over the passenger door, while on my front, a hot grit symphony played with my diaphragm. Oh yes, the longer I was away from that ice bed, the worse I felt. Arms, back, belly, and butt. 3/4 of my body demanded that I turn around, go back to the hotel, and get back in bed. Meanwhile, faint waves tightening my shoulders began to morph into an almost verbal sound, kind of like whoa, whoa. Even tiny breaths were painful. Oh, maybe this will be okay once I get out of the car, I thought to myself as I braced for a sharp curve. I saw another hole coming toward us. I was really beginning to feel those crabby shots, and I hadn't even made it to the party. Maybe I should have stayed in bed. No, this might be my last chance to meet some of Liberia's finest. The Liberian president, the American ambassador, Peace Corps bigwigs, the International Diplomatic Corps, and a whole slew of other high-class folk. Bottom line, this was an opportunity of a lifetime, and I almost missed it because of that stupid little pill. Okay, at least I got some rest. I'll be okay, I know it. Besides, I would never forgive myself if I now chickened out because of a little discomfort. So just suck it up. You're a theater major. Channel Stanislavski. There are only about 90 minutes left to the event, so I just need to show up looking like Nefertiti at a ball. Smile, have memorable conversation with some interesting and influential people, just like in my dreams, and leave. I just needed to remember to move so no one will know that I feel like a swollen pincushion beneath all that. Oh, whoa. The taxi hit another bump. I bit my lip only a little bit. Maybe I should have taken that other pill. Chapter 9. Dance with me. I guess I did make a bit of an entrance when I stepped through the armed guards posted at the door. Oh, I just stood there for a bit, taking it all in. I mean, this was everything I expected it to be. Absolutely. The huge room buzzed with excitement and glowed with possibilities. People were on the dance floor. Some others sat or stood in clusters here and there. I'd obviously already missed whatever speech that had been scheduled, but I didn't care. I was just happy I woke up in time. I'd made it. And for a moment, I almost forgot about my discomfort. I saw a group of American PCVs I had met at orientation. One of them, a big red-headed Polish guy, what was his name? Sam Hodorowski, turned and looked at me, raised his glass. I shrugged and traded eyebrow convo with him. I see you guys, my face said, but dude, I'm here to meet Liberians. He chuckled and tilted his drink at me. I started to walk around. Everything was so colorful. This was where I needed to be. Yes. Liberian ladies were in all sorts of colors and styles of African gowns. An impressively tall Mandingo couple caught my eye as they adjusted their overroads and moved like giant butterflies among the attendees. You could tell most of the Liberian gowns were obviously custom-made, with cinched waist ruffles to accent the hips and bold head ties. Lots of mixtures of patterns and colors contrasted with most of the Peace Corps and expat ladies in more standard store-bought outfits. On the far wall, a group of young Liberian guys were gathered. Most were either in swearing-in suits or African adaptations of European cuts. It was clear I was the topic of conversation with a few of them, and that was fine with me. I knew without a doubt that my Supreme/Fulani princess dress fusion design would stand out. The way the white pantaloons popped from behind the skirt panels when I moved meant that this outfit looked best in a standing position. That was a good thing. The ride over it convinced me that I could not sit down. Thank goodness for sensible shoes. Oh. To top it off, my upper arms felt like they were smoldering balloons. Oh, I think they were actually swelling underneath my dress. Mom? Oh. The waiter politely offered a tray with glasses of wine and iced punch. I saw that iced and all but jumped for a glass with the most cubes. 6 seconds later, I sighed softly as I pressed that cold glass first against my stomach. I then continued to walk around the room, checking out the dancers and even the Liberian art on the walls as I very secretly moved that glass to cool the flesh under first one arm and then the other. Body fire somewhat abated. I found a spot to make an assessment of the room and listen to the music while I decided what my next move would be. Now let me say this. The band on that stage was talented. This was the first professional Liberian band that I had seen since arriving in Liberia. And sure, I'd gone to a couple of beach parties where somebody would break out a guitar, and I'd seen duets and sometimes small groups of grown-up boys, the street performers, but I really hadn't gone to any event where there was a real band. I didn't get their name, but these guys were great. I mean, even in my condition, I had to resist the urge to dance. Oh, I couldn't stop my head from rocking, though. They played some African music, but also offered a surprising mixture of standard pop and classic Motown sounds. Jackson 5 to the Temptations, some jammin' James Brown. And just then, they began a lively high life tune, a song I'd grown to appreciate during my first few weeks. Kind of a fast-paced tune with rhythms that any other day would have taken over my feet, but considering my condition, that was not going to happen. Please understand, I have a singer's soul. I have a performer's soul. I come by it honestly. I'm from a long line of Texas musicians, classical, gospel, jazz, and blues. To this day, our family still brags about cousin Margarita Pennybacker, who back in the 1800s moved to Europe and became an international concert pianist. My father, Elray, sang bass in a gospel quartet. His son, Elray Jr., was an award-winning trumpet player and captain of the Thunder Soul, the world-famous Kashmir stage band. I started doing musicals at Houston's Alley Theater and Theater Incorporated as a young child. And Mother's brother, Maestro Calvin Owens, was B.B. King's orchestra conductor for 16 years. So it goes without saying that when I see performers, I pay attention. This high life stuff, though, was still a little bit new to me. Let me tell you my thoughts about African music. I mean, I love the crisp vocals of Ghanaian sounds and the soaring melodies of South African artists, but when it came to West African high life, I admit I hadn't been exposed. So I really wasn't aware of them until I arrived in Liberia, and I'll admit it, the jury was out for me for a while. When I first arrived in the country, I really didn't take to it. I didn't dislike it. It's just that some of the rhythms sounded strange. It felt like there were too many notes, and the kind of high-pitched tinny sound from unusual mixtures of finger pianos, drums, and oddly tuned guitars and other instruments were a challenge for my newly liberated American ears. That is until one morning, maybe a week after I arrived, I was riding on a half-full money bus, sitting in a traffic jam, when a popular high life song, Sweet Mother, by Prince Nico Mbarga, came on the radio. Two guys started to sing. Then the entire bus burst into song. A few people got up and started to dance a kind of a lazy shuffle turn thing in the aisles. It was contagious. That song had to be 10 minutes long. No traffic movement, so soon we were all standing at our seats or dancing in the aisles. Even the bus driver began to bounce. Sweet mother, sweet mother, oh, the steady beat was hypnotic, and the fact that the words were an understandable English was inviting. I didn't know all the verses, but the chorus was easy, so I joined in, and by the time the traffic started to move again, I was all in. It was exhilarating. Oh, and that's the day I really began to get West African music. I discovered amazing artists after that, like King Sunny Ade and the beautiful voice of Liberia's Miata Fambule. Years later, I would even eventually meet and become friends with international West African artist Fela Kunte and actually perform with South African legends Hugh Masekela and Mary Makeba. But I digress. I'm saying, in truth, I really did want to dance, but that was just not going to happen. Mentally, I was drawn to the band's melodic intensity like a moth to a flame. The rhythms, the lyrics, even in another language was intoxicating. Lots of folk were on the dance floor. Meanwhile, my body was stiffening, and I could just feel it approaching DEFCON 6. Oh, I'd be happy if I could make it through this evening with as little physical movement as possible. Oh, I heard female laughter from across the room. A group of young ladies suddenly erupted into a second wave of joy. Oh, there they were. They were a mixed bunch. Oh, some American, some African, but all were female and involved in a lively discussion, overseen by a very stately-looking middle-aged woman. She was tall for a Liberian woman, beautifully coiffured with a huge taffeta head tie. Considering how the younger women deferred to her every word, she must be someone important. I liked the way she held herself. Smooth, confident, classy, and in charge. Definitely someone I should meet. Oh, just then she glanced away from whomever she was speaking with and saw me looking at her. Our eyes locked. I offered a small smile. She smiled back, nodded politely, and turned back to her conversation. Yep, I decided that I would join her group.
Excuse me.
A voice deep and manly smiled at me from my right. I stopped, turned.
I'm Gabrielle.
Amazing teeth, nice eyes, tall, well-dressed, beautiful deep cocoa brown skin, square jaw. He had obviously separated himself from the gaggle of men holding up the wall behind him. He offered his hand.
May I have this dance?
He said. I'd been briefed by Peace Corps on the 20 families of Liberia. This guy looked more like an American than a Liberian. He was obviously one of the descendants of African-American freedmen, the mulatto children from slave owners and others who had come to colonize this corner of Africa. They were called Americo-Liberians because of their ancestral ties to the U.S. This was a privileged class that owned most of the money and power in Liberia. They usually go to school and take regular trips not only to America, but other countries around the world. Very cosmopolitan. His smile and the music was compelling. I was almost tempted to take his offer, but the pain I felt when I just shook his hand just now convinced me otherwise. Thanks for offering. I bit my lip briefly as a sharp heat wave pinged my shoulder. But I'd rather not. I really don't feel like dancing tonight.
Are you sure?
His accent was almost American. He stepped back and looked me up and down.
I couldn't help but notice you have the perfect outfit for dancing.
His eyes twinkled.
Shame not to show it off.
He leaned towards me as if sharing a secret.
I assure you, dear, I'm an excellent dancer.
His smile was infectious. I'm sure you are. I faltered for a minute as I laughed. I mean, here he was, a real live Prince Charming type dude. Handsome, courteous, upper class, and kind of cute. Just what the doctor ordered, and he was obviously interested in getting to know me, little black teacher's kid from Texas. But the thought of him, anyone, touching me almost anywhere on my body right now was terrifying. I don't care how cute he was. It was not worth it. Even breathing was a task. I fake smiled back at him. But maybe some other time?
Well, what about something to eat? Anything?
Oh, thanks, but no. I took a little sip of the melted drink in my hand. Just lifting it to my mouth made me grimace. I'm fine with this. I wiggled my drink at him before returning it to my belly button. Thanks for asking. Gabriel looked disappointed but took it well. He muttered a polite goodbye and retreated in the direction of the buffet. I watched him walk away. Nice. Well-dressed, intelligent, articulate, gracious, and so very, very attractive. Perhaps I should reconsider. After all, isn't this what I came to do, meet some new and interesting people? I couldn't dance, but I could at least go and talk to the guy. I started to follow him. Maybe I'll join that nice ladies group later.
Chapter 10. Prince Charming. Hello! After only a few steps towards Gabrielle and the buffet, a male voice, on my left. I turned. Where Gabrielle had been tall, this guy was a bit shorter, thickly built, with high cheeks protecting small inset eyes. He was animated. Matched up with me. You, my dear, look like a dancer. He stuck out his hand. Like this song? Wiggled his fingers at me. Come, dance with me.
Oh, thanks, but no, I'm good. I smiled briefly and quickened my step. Gabrielle was concentrating on the buffet, so he just wasn't aware I was headed his way.
Oh, but I want to dance with you, man.
The guy deftly moved around to stand in front of me, hand open for the taking. His smile turned up a bit at the corners.
Let's go. Dance with me now.
Excuse me? I stopped and really looked at him.
He was a bit chubby, but had on an elaborately designed swearing-in suit, beautifully embroidered at what would have been the cuffs. Obviously well-to-do, but I didn't like his tone. Besides, I know he had just heard me say no. I said, I want to dance with you.
This time, he snapped his fingers at me. Twice, like he expected to be obeyed.
I was incredulous. Who did he think he was? I mean, that was not a request. Not even the hint of a request. No doubt, I was beginning to not like this guy at all. Look, okay? This is not a good time, okay? I'm sorry. I started to step around him. No need to be sorry, sister. He shifted to block me. His eyes briefly cut to the direction of the guys holding up the wall. I saw one of them give a quick head nod up. He stepped a bit closer to me and spoke softly. Come on, nah. He reached and took my left arm by the elbow. Don't be difficult. And started to try to walk me toward the dancers. Oh! I pulled my arm back, grimaced as a heat wave struck. I really mean it. No, I'll pass. This is really, not a good time. Okay, maybe some other time? I turned and quickened my steps away from him. Oh, hopefully that would do the trick. Thank you! It didn't. This dude was persistent. He followed. Don't you know who I am? He was once again blocking my path. I stopped. Should I? Realization dawned on his face. Oh, you don't know. He chuckled a bit, stood a little straighter, and took a smug stance. I'm AB. He nodded and paused as if waiting for me to react. Who? He looked a bit perplexed. Repeated himself slowly in case I was deaf or stupid or not paying attention, which at this state of my being, I was pretty much all three. A, B. Huh? He raised his eyebrows. Excuse me? I began to feel faint. This was getting worse. A new wave literally ran across my shoulders and shivered its way down my back. Oh. I thought with some regret that maybe I should have taken that second or third pill patients had given me. I felt a little bit lightheaded. Even standing here listening to this rude dude was a challenge. Oh, I should have stayed in bed. You know? He was visibly losing patience. I'm AB. He obviously thought those two initials would mean something to me. Getting a blank stare from me, he added, You know, AB Tolbert. Okay. I was seriously not in the mood. He looked exasperated. Hey, I am Dr. Tolbert's son, okay? Huh? I perched my lips. I mean, what do I care who his doctor daddy was? Well, I said softly, that's nice. I leaned towards him a bit, and in doing so managed to turn a quick midriff pain grimace into a small, slightly crooked smile. So, here's the deal, Mr. A.B. I'm Mary Helen Wiseman's daughter. His face brightened. Okay. And I'm still not going to dance with you. I turned and fled. I successfully managed to weave my way through the gyrating bodies, heading towards the promised sanctuary of the group of single ladies on the other side. I carefully kept my drink balanced as I concentrated on my goal. With each step, muscles all over my bod took turns yelling at me. Quick bursts of intensity like a series of smoldering fires. The growing pressure behind my eyes told me that I was really not going to be able to stay at this event long at all. But I was determined to at least find out who that lady was before I go. It had become a kind of a miniature quest. I arrived at a sort of clearing in the dancers, about halfway into the middle of the room when I heard, Come on, man! It was A.B. Behind my right side. He reached out, and before I could react, his thick man fingers were deep into the tortured flesh of my upper arm.
Dance with me!
He yanked on my arm. Hard! A red-hot poker ran up my right shoulder, raced down my back, joined the molten lava that flowed around my spine, and the whole world exploded into a million needles of pain. I screamed! Remember that I said I'm a singer? Yes, a bel canto soubrette coloratura soprano, with a powerful diaphragm attached to two seriously strong, classically trained lungs. I have not only a certified 3.5 octave range, but an unusual ability to vocalize two notes so close together it becomes an almost inhuman trill. I call it bird song.
Years later, I would eventually perform as a member of the Houston Symphony Chorus under Maestro Sergio Commissiona and Christoph Eschenbach. Maestro Commissiona took a liking to me, saying that there were only 6 voices like mine born for every 100 first sopranos. "This is a real coloratura," he would say. Once during a performance, I hit and held a high note, and my voice broke 32 bulbs and a 36-bulb chandelier at the Adams Mark Hotel. I've got pictures. It made the local paper. So I'm saying this to say that if you add that kind of vocal power and range to unexpected and excruciating pain, the resulting sound can be sharp, loud, and possibly harmful to any ears that happen to be nearby. I don't need a microphone. This was a banquet hall with a wooden floor and great acoustics. The lights didn't flicker, but the band stopped playing, dancers around us jumped back, and within seconds there was just me and one person standing in the center of that dance floor. That room may have been quiet to everyone else, but not to me, because the loudest thing in the room to me was the blood beating a path to my eyeballs. A girl on my left pointed at me. I looked down. Oh, my dress! He had grabbed me so hard that my drink literally poured itself out on its way to the floor. A huge red stain spattered diagonally across the silk skirt panels and sheer white pantaloons of my amazingly beautiful outfit. So that's when I lost it. So here's what and why I said what I did. When I was a college freshman, I admired an older girlfriend, an upperclassmate named Cherie. There were only 25 black girls on our campus at that time, and Cherie was from South Carolina. Tall, graceful, with long legs and a big, fluffy fro that reminded you of Angela Davis. Definitely the pretty one of us on campus. Her biggest problem, it seemed, was that no matter where we went, she was constantly pursued by guys. All kinds of guys, all races of guys, and all ages. Ew. And some of them were really douchebags. Cherie was smart, had a lot of class, and the cutest Southern accent. But if pushed, I discovered she could turn ghetto real fast. She said her daddy taught her how to deal with men who didn't take no for an answer. I admit he must have taught her well, and she taught me. I mean, some of the phrases she would use to tell a nuisance suitor off were almost poetic. Her insults were delivered with just the right amount of Southern girl magic. And there was no mistaking her message. So this AB dude was obviously one of those guys who didn't understand what a polite no is. Cherie had a favorite put-down that worked almost every time. She even coached me on how to make it almost sound like a song. "It's a black thing," she would say. "You have to get the right inflection or it won't work." I think she would have been impressed at how easily, with just the right inflection and crescendo, the next 2 words just rolled off my tongue. "Nigga, please!" AB's eyes bucked. Good. Maybe now he's finally getting the message. Just to be sure, I continued. I was channeling Cherie big time. I doubled down with her favorite follow-up phrase. "You are rude, crude, barbaric, perverted, and uncivilized." I took a quick, painful breath. But you can't show weakness to guys like this, so I used the pain to advance on him with intensity. Point her finger close to his face. He retreated another step. Just then, I remembered what Liberians thought about Texas women. I leaned in a bit. "Darling, I'm from Texas, and if you ever touch me again, I'll rip your balls off." His mouth dropped open. People around us gasped. Somewhere a light flashed. That collective gasp and flash was the precise moment that I stopped, blinked, and looked around. Oh, the entire room was frozen like a background cast in a bad soap opera. And all eyes were on us. I heard boots running.
Oh, I knew I'd messed up big time when I saw the 4 guards coming from both sides of the room with their guns pointed at AB and me. Whoa, wait, correction. They were definitely running towards us, but their guns were not aimed at AB at all. Not us. Those muzzles were only on me. I blinked. Adrenaline rush. The pounding behind my eyes grew faster. Oh, what had just happened? I mean, 1 minute I'm telling this rude dude to leave me alone over and over and over again, and the next, boom, guns. I mean, cocked, loaded, pointed at me. Where's the love, guys? I mean, what's up? What'd I do? A voice inside my head whispered, Okay, so who did he say his daddy was? Split second, mental rewind.
I'm Dr. Talbert's son.
Okay, Talbert, Dr. Talbert, Dr. William. Dr. William Talbert. Oh my goodness. Free how? I suddenly realized that I had just publicly insulted the son of the president of Liberia. I stared at the firing squad. America had taught me what to do when a gun is waved at you. Slowly, very carefully, I began to raise my aching arms in surrender. So, when you know it, an actual real-life Liberian prince wanted to dance with me. But this was definitely not the fairy tale ending I had imagined. I could die right here in this foreign land just for saying no to a real-life prince, who, truth be told, turned out to not be so charming after all. Oh, I should have stayed in bed. I'm sorry, I stammered to the soldiers and AB. I didn't. I mean, I didn't. The guards weren't even looking at me. Granted, their guns were still aimed on my face, but them, AB, the dancers, everyone was looking past my shoulder. I turned. The stately lady who had commanded my attention earlier had raised both her hands in almost the same position as me. But instead of surrender, her hands flattened to say, stop. She then casually flitted her fingers at the guards in dismissal. 2 heartbeats later, the firing squad lowered weapons and began to return to their post at the exit doors. I simply stood there, pushed my heart back out of my throat, and stared. Well, the lady looked around the room and sighed. It was awkward. You could hear a pin drop. Someone whispered near me, Mavi. Mavi? Madame Victoria Talbert? The president's wife? First Lady of Liberia? Oh, great. When I blow it big. Well, she repeated. I took a short, painful breath. Grimaced. Mavi must have seen my distress. She tilted her head a bit, and her look softened into a small smile. That softness died, however, when she shifted her gaze to her son. A.B.? She said loudly enough for everyone in the room to hear. I turned to face him. He did not look happy. Son?
I think you'd best leave little Miss Texas alone.
She glanced at the band leader. The music started again. Nervous laughter came from the back of the room. A.B. muttered under his breath as one of the guys clustered there yelled something out. I couldn't catch the words, but A.B. scowled at me, pivoted, and pushed through the dancers towards the far exit. A waiter came to wipe my spilled drink off the floor with one cloth and handed me another for my dress. I took that as my cue to leave. I bolted for the door in the opposite direction from wherever A.B. was headed. Before stepping through, I turned for one last look at my shattered fairy tale. That's when I saw Mr. Ghost standing nearby with some super official-looking white people. Oh, they were all quietly staring at me. They did not look happy. I should have stayed in bed.
To be continued. Hear more episodes at Kijana.com.